I'll keep talking because I like hearing myself talk. So we'll get that out of the way. These won't be in any order, but obviously the way this thing sounds and the V8 are amazing. Over 400 horsepower at 8,400 RPM red line. They don't make them like this anymore. Now everything's forced induction, supercharged, turbocharged, which is cool. They sound good too, but this is just becoming classic. I mean, most cars are begging for mercy at like 7,000 RPM or 6,000, and that's this thing's sweet spot. So not only does it sound really good, but that high revving is just, like I said, they don't make them anymore like that. And you got the V8 out back, the sweet induction noise up front. So your right foot, I mean, you can make music all day long in this thing. We'll do one more little pull right here because the light is green and no one's coming. Quick story, the other day I was leaving Chipotle, I was walking to my car and I saw these kids just sitting outside like their mom's 428i or something. The mom never got out, but the kids were just standing there. I started my car and the kids just, their jaws just dropped, like they couldn't believe it. And they were just staring at the car the whole time as I backed out. And I'm not one to get attention or anything, so I wasn't like, I mean, I was trying to leave as slowly as possible just out of respect for people in the parking lot and stuff. And they were just watching me leave the whole time. I mean, they couldn't believe this, the noise and just I guess the car itself, which I thought was really cool. I mean, these kids were literally like 6 years old, and I probably just made their day. You know, they're gonna grow up to Teslas and electric engines and hybrids and stuff that don't make any noise. And, you know, here I am giving them a childhood memory, like something that they'll never get to experience, which is pretty sad. That's kind of a sad path to go down. Let's not go there. I'm gonna start crying on camera.
If you know how I feel, why would you say that?
Another thing, while we're speaking mechanically, this car's dual clutch transmission is amazing. I really, really like it. I know some people prefer manuals. If you want a third pedal, well, you're in luck. This M3 can obviously also come in a manual, so it satisfies both parties. But the dual clutch, man, it shifts really fast. There's a lot of, I want to say it's still pretty engaging as far as like the shifts. I mean, it still throws you in your seat because you can adjust the shift settings, of course. The noises it makes in between the shifts, it's really cool. The downshifts, my gosh, the downshifts are brutal. Definitely my favorite thing. And that's not even the highest shift setting. But I've driven some pretty cool cars. I'd say one of my favorite, the 991 GT3 RS, $200,000 car. Everybody arguably says that the PDK is like the best in the business, which I'll admit, it was a really, really good transmission. But this car being like $50,000 or $60,000 brand new and now being between $20,000 and $30,000, I'd have to say this was still not that far off from the PDK. I mean, the shifts were a little bit slower than the PDK for a 10-year-old design, even more. This is a 2010, but it was introduced in 08 here in North America, and you know the design is obviously a few years older than that. And you know, by today's standards, it still does really good with these new automatics and stuff. So either way, if you go manual or dual clutch with this car, you can't go wrong. Both, especially the dual clutch, I heard that on forums and stuff, people were saying that there's really nothing that can go wrong. They're pretty bulletproof, so that's always a plus. So I love this transmission. Now you know we have to talk about the looks. The aggressive wide front fenders, the bulging hood, the cool mirrors, the quad exhaust, the carbon fiber roof. I mean, how many cars under $20,000 or $30,000 can you name that have a carbon fiber roof? This thing is gorgeous and there's no mistaking that it's an M3. Some of you may know I also have an E60 M5. Unfortunately I wrecked it, but I'm in the process of getting it back. That car looked aggressive. That car was kind of done up, had a blacked out windshield, custom hood. It was lowered with wheel spacers, the Lux angel eyes that were nice and bright. It looked really good. This is pretty much stock. I've left it pretty much untouched. All I've done are the painted reflectors and the M4 style dual slat black grille, and that's it. It's not even the competition package, so I have the basic 18-inch wheels. I don't have the 19s, and just the stock basic suspension, not the competition suspension that lowers it a little bit. It's been a while since I drove that M5, but I'd have to say that this gets more attention than the M5 does. People love this car. Always getting smiles and thumbs up, looks, compliments. And that just goes to show that this car has aged beautifully. This being the E92, obviously the two-door, the smooth, sleek lines, being a coupe. People just love it. And that just goes to show it's a beautiful car. Another cool thing about this car is that it's really good at off-roading. It has a limited slip differential. No, I'm kidding. But really, the limited slip is kind of a big deal. Before buying this car, I almost bought a C63 AMG, Mercedes. Great car, I've always liked them. I paid for the inspection, I was dead serious about buying it until I realized if it doesn't have the development package, it won't have a limited slip. BMW really emphasizes and focuses on performance with their M cars. That's one of my favorite things about the M3. They've depreciated so much that you get so much for your money now. So much value. Think about what you're getting. The BMW name, obviously it's prestigious, it's a status symbol. That's not why I buy these cars, but obviously the luxury is nice to have. The interior, it's well designed, well engineered, everything is where it's supposed to be. It looks good, it feels good to the touch. The intuitive iDrive, the sound system, the attention to detail. It's practical. Trunk is fairly large, you got back seats, you can fit people back there. I've had friends back there and they look comfortable, they didn't complain, they look fine. And yes, I do have friends, not really, but hey. You get the styling, the distinctive BMW styling. The transmission, as I said, amazing gearbox. I mean, when this came out, dual clutches really weren't that big yet. It was like this and then the GTR. This dual clutch, I think, is what really got the dual clutch transmission in the game and known. Before that, it was just torque converter automatics and single clutch transmissions. The engine, 414 horsepower, still a respectable number. Sounds amazing. The exhaust note out back. The performance overall, the handling, the capabilities. The handling is super tight. I mean, this thing is so fun to drive on twisty roads. You get so much with this car. It's a car that truly checks all the boxes. It's one of my favorite things about this car. Overall, the package you get, this what BMW does best. The M3 really does it all. Now, on to some of the things I don't like. I have the AC slightly on, hoping it doesn't interfere with the sound. I have to have it because it's really hot. But you know what else would be nice? Cooled seats. The M5 has cooled seats. We're talking about a top-of-the-line M model here, top-of-the-line 3 Series. Ooh, it's still an M3. You would think cooled seats would at least be available. I don't even think these were an option. Parking sensors. M5 had them front and rear. This car only the rear, not in front. The other day I pulled into a parking garage. I tried getting as close to the wall as possible. Typical car guy. I was parked away from everybody over on like the corner, but it's where everybody like cuts through to make the turn, so I didn't want anybody like clipping the rear of my car. Trying to get as close to the wall as possible, and I barely tapped it and it left a little scratch, but still annoying. I mean, it's my fault, but you know, if I had parking sensors, that wouldn't happen. Heads-up display, the M5 has it. I missed that. It's kind of cool seeing your speed, but you do get the shift lights in the tack, which is in a way a little bit cooler, but it would be nice for that. You do get a rear sunshade though, which is, I mean, that's cool, but like, I don't care about the rear people or like rear seats being shaded. I want the front seats being shaded. Like, give me them cooled seats. Again, top of the line BMW, you would just expect some of that stuff. Rear view camera, not a big deal. I'm not going to fuss about that too much, but my 2007 X5 did have a rear view camera. This is a 2010 M3. I get it though, the X5 is an SUV. M5 didn't have it either. I think that's that era, they just weren't doing that stuff for their sedans. Maybe the 7 Series. And I get it, the M5 is like the professional business car. All that stuff adds weight. The M3 being more of like the lighter, like kind of track car. All that stuff would add weight, and so I get it. But cooled seats would definitely be fine. I mean, I think I have every right to complain about that. The other stuff, I get it, but you know what I mean? Another thing, the rod bearings. Gosh, yes, why didn't they just figure it out from the factory? It's a shame that you gotta buy this car and worry about that stuff. Well, I don't. I'm almost at 90,000 miles, and I'm not the slightest bit worried because I replaced them at 115,000 miles on the M5, and they were fine. I regret doing it. It was a big waste of money. That's the thing about these rod bearings, is that it's, you know, $2,000, whatever. It's something you don't even see. You don't hear it. It's no exhaust. It's not something you see visually. It's not something you get performance out of. I mean, I get it though. Once you do the bearings on these cars, there's not much else to worry about. And these cars have lost so much money in depreciation. You know, you do that and you're set. You know, what's another $2,000 on top of, you know, say you pick one up for 25. You got a really good car. It's just too bad that they couldn't figure that out. And you know, I know this car was well maintained. I've always let it warm up. I've put, you know, almost 10,000 miles on it since I bought it. M5, I know the previous owner maintained that very well and always let it warm up. So I'm not too worried about it, but of course, the thought is always there. Third thing, 400 horsepower, 414 horsepower is a lot. It's a lot of fun. It's still a good number by today's standards. However, 295 foot-pounds of torque could use a little bump up. me. I don't feel compelled to buy a tune or anything, but a little bit more would be nice. Well, that's pretty much it. I love this car. There's not much to complain about, honestly. I think that list is pretty short, but that's literally everything I can